This is the MXtoday 2026 Monster Energy Supercross Championship preview show here on MotoOnline.com. I am Alex Gobert. Ahead of us, Anaheim 1, round 1 of the new season, which will include once again the Monster Energy SMX World Championship. But today, with me, Nick Still, talking all things Supercross, all things Anaheim 1. It's race week. We're back.
It's race week. Couple days out from Anaheim 1. There's things in life that shouldn't change, and that's okay. And Anaheim 1, Angel Stadium is being one of those. It's the Christmas, it's the New Year, it's the 2026 season, and we are ready to get it away.
You're big on that. The December 25 for many is Christmas. For Nick Still, it is this year, January 10 at Angel Stadium of Anaheim. It's the one we all anticipate. But I'll tell you what, this off-season, this preseason, possibly could be the craziest in recent memory, maybe ever, Nick.
I'm going to call it probably the shortest as well. In the scheme of motorcycle racing worldwide with these athletes, it's probably the shortest it's ever been.
It is. Where you think back to Las Vegas and the SMX Decider last September. Of course, there's been months in between. Motocross of Nations, World Supercross, the annual off-season international schedule as well. But yeah, although Monster Energy Supercross is starting not the first weekend of the new year, it is the second weekend this year. But yeah, it's crept up pretty quickly. I think the timing of it is good. I think it suits. We'll start with Nick before we get into a list of our topics. Obviously, we did the Express podcast on Jet Lawrence being injured in the preseason. Hugely disappointing. Massive for Honda HRC Progressive as well, if you consider that the 250 SMX champion, Joe Shimoda, was already out. Just a really big turn of events. And what that will do, Nick, is in this podcast, changes the dynamic, changes the season outlook altogether. When you think a field without Jet Lawrence, even if he's not the defending Supercross champion, the game changes that little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much more. All these guys got a line thinking they can win, but now I think they've got that bit of confidence behind them that, hey, the alien, so to speak, the Jet is out, and that creates an open playing field across so many different riders. So very disappointing to Honda HRC Progressive as well to have both those riders out. But I don't want to be this guy. I don't want to be this person.
But you're going to be?
I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Weren't we all just worried that Jet's going to go and win 7 or 8 of these things and have it wrapped up at the second last round? Was that a worry? I think we've just lost that now. And it's, I don't know, maybe we see, maybe the whole ballpark is completely different. I don't want to be that guy.
I think the mentality changes.
It does. I don't want to be that one because obviously I want to see Jet and have him out there. It's best for the sport, but I think that really does change things.
Yeah, it does. I think the mentality of the riders, and what I'm kind of interested in is, as you said, there is always that inner belief. I think there's always that inner reality that we're not necessarily privy to, but there's that reality of Jet Lawrence is a generational talent. He's proven himself, his capabilities across Supercross, Pro Motocross, unbeaten in SMX as the champion in that still. But yeah, I think it changes. It moves the goalpost, to probably an attainable goal or target for many. So Chase Sexton comes to mind. And like I said, we'll get into them more specifically shortly. But Chase Sexton comes to mind that he believes, right or wrong, that he can beat Jet Lawrence in this Premier Class field. But then you have the effects of, okay, what does this do to Cooper Webb as the defending champion? How does it change Eli Tomac's belief in these, twilight years of his career? And then beyond that, it goes into guys that we've seen win main events in recent years. Malcolm Stewart, Aaron Plessinger, former champions, even down to a Jason Anderson who just clinched the world championship, quote unquote, Nick. Riders like him, former champions. The list, I think what we're going to see and what we're going to learn within this podcast is the sheer number of riders who are noteworthy, maybe not capable of winning the championship, maybe not even main events, Nick, but the sheer list of riders who have made names for themselves and who are going to make up these main events on any given Saturday. That's probably the craziest thing about this sport right now, the depth.
Well, it's funny, every year we talk, is this the deepest class ever, stacked, whatever. We also get to the point where main event winners for the year as well, Alex, is the number of how many main event winners we have. Each year we seem to, we tie out each time with the same, but when you go through these riders, the riders that can go out there and win main events, when you got to talk that sort of way, I think we get over that threshold this year. I think we it's not going to be the norm each week, and that's as fans, that's what we're here to, that's what we want to see, right? That's exactly what we're we go to the races for. I think we're going to get that year. I think we're expect the unexpected, so to speak.
It's couple of things as well in relation to the racing. Of course, we did that news story that the opening practice sessions have been dropped entering the new year. So potentially more time for track maintenance, preparation, less laps, of course, in general. So we'll see how that plays out. So yeah, it'll basically go down to 2 qualifying sessions at 12 minutes each, and give them more opportunity. Yeah, I think it just sort of takes out that free practice component each and every weekend. Another thing, Nick, is 9 whoops. It was an experiment to build data, that kind of thing. There's going to be more, so maybe 10, maybe 11 whoops throughout the season. So that will be one to keep an eye on as well.
No Dragonbacks.
We do not know the SMX World Championship, the playoff or final locations just yet. Nothing official announced there. So that will be on the eve of Anaheim 1 at the annual or the traditional press conference. So you can keep an eye on that, which will be that'll be interesting. 3 new venues, Nick. So yeah, we will see.
Yeah, I'm said it once, I'll say it again. Let's just piss the speedways off. Actually no. The speedways,
very
okay
aggressive, sir. Is everything okay?
The drag strips. Let's just see you later. The drag strips. Speedways, I'm fine. Drag strips, no.
Yeah. You confused me there for a moment.
Yeah. I had to correct myself. I'm sorry.
Schedule-wise, Cleveland is back. Huntington Bank Field in Ohio for the first time in over 30 years. We'll see Cleveland. Houston is back at NRG Stadium. Nashville at Nissan Stadium is also back, returning to the schedule. So, another change as well. The opening 6 rounds will all be 250 SX West. So Arlington and round 7 in mid to late February. That will be the first of the Eastern Division. So a little bit later than usual. 3 Triple Crown events, beginning with round 4 in Houston, round 9 and round 14. So that will be Indianapolis and Cleveland.
Yep.
East-West showdowns, Birmingham round 10, St. Louis round 12, and of course the Dave Coombs Sr. East-West showdown there at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City. So, yeah, plenty of... it's funny, you look at Supercross and you think the 17 rounds and the grueling schedule that it is, but there's all these underlying storylines that really come into play. Little, not necessarily milestones, but little moments to elevate the excitement, keep you watching for more each and every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I think it's when the series goes to these other areas as well. That's something I look forward to. I kind of like that. I like new stadiums. I like seeing different things. So that's a major part of it for me. And I like you said, we expect to see either the SMX playoff rounds be announced. I think that's going to be very different this year, and that adds a whole different part of it as well. So lots to look forward to. And the Triple Crowns, yeah, okay, 3, that's fine, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think it works. Supercross has done a really good job at maintaining the traditional values of the sport while mixing things up. I think that's probably key in the way. They haven't been lured into just getting rid of the longer distance. If anything, Nick, over the years, once they switched to 20-minute main events, it actually made them longer. So more strategy,
I think we've spoken about this before, but can we just imagine for a little second that Anaheim 1 starts as an East-West showdown? You like that? I like
Take
that.
away some options, obviously, as
Put them all in.
riders working their way back into fitness and whatnot. That's kind of a little bit of I think it's a bit of a bonus for riders and teams at this point. But yeah, I mean, I'm not against what you're saying. The on the MotoOnline front, Nick, you're aware, many may have noticed, many may be just discovering it, but we have gone to a MotoOnline.com only platform. So what that means is previously we had the US content was on the .com. We still had the original MotoOnline.com.au for our Australian racing. But moving forward for this year, it is all on the one, but it is regional based. So you'll be able to see there will be the option you can select between. If you're in the USA, you can select United States. We'll have Australia still. You can select that. For people in Australia, they'll still be able to view and see the headline type US content on the Aussie platform. And then we're also introducing the international platform for the first time, which we stopped from calling it European because it's more than that. MXGP, World Supercross, they obviously go beyond Europe. But yeah, when you see the international tab, that effectively means the FIM Motocross World Championship. It'll be World Supercross later in the year. Again, they all flow from one to the next. You don't have to go clicking all around it. It will do it automatically for your region. If you do want to select one over the other, that can be done as well. But exciting times, and importantly, separate social media accounts and presence across the board as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's having it the one spot, being able to select through, the different genres, USA, international, and Australia, makes it a lot easier for me. So thanks, Alex. That's very appreciated.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. We've broken this down into different segments, not necessarily predictions, but Nick, maybe they are predictions. We're going to open with the 450 SX title contenders in our mind, from our point of view. Monster Energy, Yamaha Star Racing's Cooper Webb. We have Monster Energy Kawasaki's Chase Sexton, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing recruit Eli Tomac. In our opinion, Nick, with Jet Lawrence out, those three become the A-listers. We're gonna say they're the A-listers.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely start with Cooper Webb there for being the A-lister, for the simple fact he is our defending champion. He has a number one on the bike. Where I think it's a little bit different for him as well, he's the only rider out of the three that is continuing with the same team he was with. They have the same data. They have everything to work from last year. They can be more prepared than Eli Tomac, than Chase Sexton across this whole series. When you talk Cooper Webb, yes, Californian rounds, the start of a championship, it's not his flashiest. He doesn't have an Anaheim 1 win, but he builds when this thing heads east for Cooper Webb. He's there. When the lights come on, he's there. He's a dog in the fight. The final laps of a main event, Cooper Webb comes alive, and you can bet bottom dollar when we get to the tail end of this season, he's in striking distance, and he's had some of these rides that we look back and go, how did that happen? That's Cooper Webb, and I think he's got to be the favorite just for the sheer fact of he is our defending champion. Simple as that.
Yeah, we spoke about that at the top. Is who benefits mentally from Jet Lawrence being out of this thing? And as you say, Cooper Webb, you know that he's going to be in a position to go the distance. He gets stronger as the season goes on. Last year wasn't difficult by any means to open the year. He was, fourth at Anaheim 1, on the box in San Diego. Anaheim 2 was the low point of his year in 8th. But beyond that, he started putting in the podiums, consistent top fives. He won at Detroit, Arlington, Indy, Seattle, Pittsburgh as well, Nick. And in the end, a 4th position got it done in Salt Lake City. So what that did for Cooper Webb was enabled him straight up to clinch this championship in 2025 over Chase Sexton. Importantly, I think out of all that, Cooper Webb knows and has done multiple times now. He knows that he can beat each and every rider in this championship to the championship. And I think that's an important thing for Cooper Webb when you look at it moving forward. The only real question mark, and he spoke about this a little bit on media days, I think it's evident he's not as happy, as content with the 2026 YZ 450F. Can they potentially change it back to being more similar to the 25? Can they persevere and find the feel that he's looking for, which I think is largely based on agility? Cooper Webb's known for the way he turns down off the turns and the way he sets up his moves, all of the above. So that's the only real question mark beyond that. And the other thing, Nick, is, and you can obviously speak about the bike, but this is a contract year for Cooper Webb. He's going to decide his future probably before this 450 SX campaign is over.
Yeah, and I think I think this might be one of the last we see. Do you feel like that?
I think he continues. I think he goes into potentially a Supercross SMX only type structure. Um, Ken Roxon comes to mind. That kind of schedule. But yeah, I don't think this is Cooper Webb's last Supercross season, but I think he's setting up towards, okay, how can we find that longevity beyond where he's at in his career as already a three-time Premier Class champion.
Another rider that really comes to the same mind for me is Eli Tomac as well. We know that's a 1-year deal with the possible to increase. Depending how this season goes for Eli, that's another big question mark I've got. It's probably one of the biggest questions I've got is how does Eli go on that Red Bull KTM? We got to see him race some of the World Supercross rounds where he had success, and then he also had some rounds where he looked like he was struggling with it. So where does that play out for the number 3? That's probably my biggest one, is watching how they set that bike up. You know, Eli likes to have that bike really high in the rear, steer with the rear. That's probably my biggest question. How does that go in these opening 3 to 4 rounds?
I think the excitement of Eli Tomac, when you think of the team introduction, the team launch, you think of how things went for him in Canada in World Supercross. And then I don't know if it can potentially end up being a positive, but the outcome in Australia not going so well almost caused most to pump the brakes on the Eli Tomac Red Bull KTM hype. And I think that may end up leaning into their favor as we get down the stretch. I don't think there was any real alarm in that performance on the Gold Coast. But at the same time, I think it brought things back to reality, not only internally, but I think also for the Tomac and KTM camp. Last year, if you recall, and I know you will recall this very fondly, that Eli Tomac victory head-to-head with Jet Lawrence in San Diego. Obviously, he went out not too long after that in the Supercross season, but that showed that he still has what it takes, regardless of age, regardless of how long he's racing, to mix it up with the very best in this sport. The question remains, as you said, can he do that? Can he deliver that on the KTM, on the Austrian bike?
I don't read into the Gold Coast thing. I think that was just hey, we had to start on the scoop and we spent the night on the scoop, and that track did not suit the scoop. As for San Diego, race of the season is probably how you should refer to it. Thank you, Mr. Gobert. But yeah, he's got that belief that he can still be that guy to go out there and do that. I think we've seen that early already on the KTM. He'll be just as good as he has been, but it's when we get to these different tracks, when we get to the tracks that break down versus slick versus rock, how they set that bike up. They don't have that data with Eli yet. I'm sure they're gaining it as they go, but I feel like that's just the the first year at a team gaining that data on the bike. So that's the biggest question I've got. Could Eli work it out and it's perfect? Sure. Will there be teething problems? Sure. But it's how that affects his result through the opening half of the season that I think really determines it.
And there's not much give when one of the other main, if not the title favorite in Cooper Webb, when he is so ultra consistent, there isn't really the chance for bad weekends, bad results. Definitely not DNFs.
I think as well with Cooper Webb, he's adaptive in a few different areas. And especially like when we look back to Seattle in the mud, he came from nowhere to get that done. that was one of those rides we look back and go, hey, can we pinpoint where Cooper Webb won the championship? It's where you're looking at. It's how they adapt in this. You've already got to look at the weather we've got for next week. I'm sure the weekend will be fine, but there's already a lot of rain around Southern California. We could be starting this thing off on a slick track. We don't know.
You love the weather. You love the weather.
I love it. I love it. I just feel like Cooper Webb is so adaptive in those conditions, and across the board, that is one of his strong points.
I have a question. How did we go? Was it on purpose that you've gone from Cooper Webb to Eli Tomac? Are we saving potentially Nick the best for last? Or are you just an Eli Tomac super fan? Because probably the biggest question mark of all three of these riders we're speaking about has to be Chase Sexton at Monster Energy Kawasaki, the very rider that Eli Tomac has replaced at Red Bull KTM. How did we get there?
Change this to a 4.
Yeah.
I wanted to save the best to last. Chase Sexton, take it away.
He's the one that probably, as I said, the most question marks of all. We've seen the Hawaii shoot, which you loved. We haven't seen him in World Supercross. We haven't seen him in Paris. We didn't see him at OzX. We haven't seen Chase Sexton really anywhere aside from Instagram, effectively in private. How that translates to the opening round, time will tell. What we do know is, compared to his first year at KTM a couple of years back, I think the comfort is generally there on the KX450 already. But with Chase Sexton, it's going to go one of two ways. He's going to come out and I feel like almost flex from the outset at Anaheim 1, or it's not going to go as well as he'd hoped. And then I think these early rounds will be really kind of instrumental in where we get Chase Sexton, through this first half of the season. He will work it out. We already seen that at KTM. When you look back to last year, he only lost the championship by 2 points. He won the most races of his career in the Premier class. So either way, he will work it out. He will be there. But I think there's every chance that Chase Sexton comes out and is ultra strong from the outset.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the more likely case in the scenario. We haven't seen him race the bike, but we know Kawasaki is probably doing everything under the sun to get him comfortable on that bike. When we look back to the 2025 season, one of the main things that beat Chase Sexton was Chase Sexton. The issues, the front wheel washes, the little crashes here and there, that's what ended his championship hopes. We just can't see that again.
I don't know if that did. I think Cooper Webb's consistency won him the championship as much as Chase potentially lost it. When you look at Chase Sexton,
you look at how many points Chase Sexton lost from crashing compared to where he finished in the championship at the end. I know we're playing the what-if game.
It's not like there was an out-and-out disaster that you can circle and say, you lost this championship because of that. Because when you look at them, both were typically consistent. Chase won Anaheim 1 last year, so it couldn't have started any better. But then he probably just had more dips, whether it is through the minor mistakes and the things that creep into Chase Sexton's game. I think he just had more, probably lower results in general than Cooper Webb. You look at, I don't think he finished any worse than sixth
I
last
feel
year.
like when he rode into the manager's tower at Seattle and decided to hang out with Ian Harrison for a little while, that was a low pull. That was low.
Still second in the main event. But yeah, I know what you're saying. If he can iron out the kinks, if he can do minimize the mistakes. So
Yes.
Chase Sexton on any given night has a higher top end, more speed than Cooper Webb. Cooper Webb can march to the results over the course of the year. If Chase Sexton can really find that balance, and it is a fine line of, okay, this speed is what it's going to take to win. And if he can find that on the Kawasaki, then this is his championship to lose. I think we labeled it as, okay, Cooper Webb is our favorite, but it is Chase Sexton's to lose. Make sense of that.
Are you a Sexton super fan?
No, sir.
Okay.
I think that there's one important aspect that I think comes into play. And when you consider Eli Tomac, he's 33. Consider Cooper Webb, he's now 30. Three-time champion, so not a lot left to prove. Chase Sexton at 26, he's going to face Jet Lawrence a lot more times in his career to come. And what I think that does is almost means, and we've seen it in his career at times, he has to capitalize on these opportunities.
Yeah, I agree with that. I tweeted this a couple weeks ago, and it was the 26th season is the potential to say "I told you so" to so many riders. You get Sexton, who can point back at KTM and say "I told you so." You get Prado to go back at Kawasaki and say "I told you so." Tomac to go back to Star and say "I told you so." There is so many storylines riding if this goes good or bad for those riders. It's got to go bad for one of them. It can't be perfect all the way around. And we already got to see that with Christian Craig. There is so many different versions of "I told you so" this season. That should make it very, very exciting. Is this Chase Sexton's to lose? I'm sorry, I can't go with you on that.
But I think that's the thing. It's and it's difficult to group these guys into certain tiers, because when you look onto this next group of riders, Nick, that we've kind of put into categorized together, it's who else can factor. Ken Roczen, Hunter Lawrence, AP, Malcolm Stewart, Jason Anderson, Justin Cooper. And there's a lot more to come, but they're the riders in this particular group that it wouldn't shock me if Ken Roczen puts it together, pieces it together to go on and contend for this championship. It wouldn't shock me if Hunter Lawrence is able to bring what he brings outdoors and in SMX and figures it out in 450 SX. That's the thing that 2026 will deliver, will provide.
Ken Roczen, I feel like potentially we should have categorized in that first group. It's on the bubble for me. I think Ken's going to be really good once again. I know that's a hot take. Ken's going to be good.
Yeah, groundbreaking.
Ken Roczen's explosive laps early and where he puts himself into, that helps so much when you don't have the number 18 chasing you down. I feel like Ken Roczen's my pick to win Anaheim 1. I'll just throw that out there real quickly. I feel like Kenny probably should be grouped in that as a champion favorite. Can you go with me on that? No? Yes? No?
No.
Why
No.
not?
He's been there so long. Of course, injuries have played their part, but he just hasn't won the championship before. When you look back to last year, and not going into depth with it, but the likes of Justin Cooper and Malcolm Stewart were ahead of Ken Roczen in the standings in the end. Would it shock me if he goes on to contend? Is he the favorite of many for Anaheim 1, considering the type of form that he displayed in World Supercross, as he does, by the way? No real surprises there. He's had December to reset, so that's of importance for Ken Roczen. I think different this time around. But
Lost in buckets.
yeah, I think for him it's going to be a case of, okay, let's start the season strong, just like he starts the main event strong, but it's up to him to maintain that over the course of 17 rounds.
So
Does that put him in a position to contend with Coop, to contend with Chase? I'm not completely sold.
So he got landed on last year. And then the chain whole thing. That's not him. That's not him doing that.
Yeah.
That's not your guy, Chase.
Well, that's where I'm at, Nick. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say, sir?
No, I just want a little bit more respect for Ken.
I have plenty. I said he wouldn't, if he contends for this title, it wouldn't shock me, but I don't have him in the same, I won't say league, but in the same group as the big three. I have Hunter Lawrence, who's never won a 450 main event before. I have him at least the same level as Roczen, if not higher, in terms of being, potentially contending for this championship. Can you hear that storm?
I can't hear that storm.
Lots going on. Let me tell you.
All I can hear is the 94.
Yeah.
Just throws it away.
Yeah. Hey, and the other thing is, I'm not a big Suzuki guy, but there has to come a time where, regardless of if you're Ken Roczen or not, the dinosaur has to.
Are you okay? What's happened?
It can't be as good. The bike is not as good.
Well, the newsflash, everyone: Suzuki's not going to have banners on MotoOnline this year.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's not as good?
Yeah.
He's proved it's as good. Don't buy into this kickstart bullshit.
Well, I'm not, sir. I'm just going by the point that these other manufacturers, year on year, are developing, and Suzuki is stuck almost a decade ago. Does it work for Ken Roczen? Yes, it does. Is there better bikes in the field? Yes, there are. It all has to play its part, not to the level of, for instance, MotoGP, but I think it still counts.
Okay, still counts.
The beyond that, Nick, Hunter Lawrence, where do you see him faring as when we get to this season? What can he do this time around? We haven't seen him a lot in 450 Supercross. Last year didn't go to plan, but then again, what he's able to achieve in Pro Motocross and SMX shows his capabilities. Can he bring it to Supercross in 2026?
He has to, right? He has to work this out. He has to be that guy that is week in, week out, fighting for the podium, being on the podium, and having those rides. Do I think he can do that? Sure. He's just as good. He's really worked this thing out in the last 12 months. I think he's come leaps and bounds with that bike as well and where he is as a rider. And I think it's a case of he has to work this out. It's he's going to have the whole weight of the Honda HRC Progressive team on his shoulders, the whole team working around him. Obviously, Jet's going to have a lot to do with it as well. I think this can go right for Hunter Lawrence. There's going to be teething issues along the way. There's going to have the results that, don't go that way, but it's how you bounce back from that and how bad those results are. He is going to win main events. Shocking hot take there as well, but I think this can really work for Hunter Lawrence. It's just when those weekends don't go well, it's rebounding from that. It's damage control. That's really going to affect his season.
Yeah, he when you look back at last year, 11th at Anaheim 1, we all remember the difficult opening round that the Lawrence brothers had. But from that point, 5 results in a row for Hunter, and then it was game over in terms of Supercross. So consistency was there, top 5 form was there, plenty to build upon, and of course with Jet out, he's going to want to prove. I saw there was the odd conversation, the odd discussion. Does Hunter become a favorite for this title? Considering Jet out, considering in Pro Motocross, we just want to see him get that first win, piece it together, go the distance, and see where it lands him once we get into the back end of the season. I think that's where we're at with Hunter Lawrence.
I don't think he needs that pressure to be considered as a favorite, looked at as a favorite. He just needs to go do his job each weekend, do what he did last year, and I think it'll really come to him. So it's I look at it as a case of he has to work it out. I think that'll be the expectation, and maybe that weighs on the shoulders too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll bounce through these next lot of riders within this group, but Aaron Plessinger, we saw him miss quite a bit of time towards the end of last year. He seems to be feeling stronger, feeling fitter, feeling ready, but it's still an unknown. So we'll see where he stands as this thing rolls on, where his health actually is. But the good news with AP was when he did get back on track, I think it came to him pretty naturally at that point. So, that was kind of a plus for him. You look back to last year, Foxborough, he was able to get the win there. But beyond that, he did have multiple other podiums. East Rutherford, Birmingham, where else? There was basically a string of podiums in Seattle, another one for him. So there was plenty of promise despite last year starting out so tough for the Cowboys. So, I think flying under the radar, but I think I almost group him and Mookie together as, riders that you consider as proven main event winners on their night. But you just never know for certain if they're going to be able to bring that outright form on each and every weekend, or just how often they can do that.
Might not be a championship favorite, but in fact a fan favorite. The number 7 on track, the number 1 in your heart, absolutely, indubitably, Aaron Plessinger, the Supercross Cowboy. I hope he can break that stigma of. Maybe he did break that stigma of, okay, it's raining. AP is going to be good tonight. Like, no,
I'm well past that, sir.
You're past that, right?
Yeah, we're past it.
Okay, well, that is, I think when you look at both those guys, him and Malcolm Stewart, really look back to last year being a how did Malcolm describe a championship season, a career season? I think for both those guys, I think they really gained a lot. I don't see the results being any different. I see there being success for AP, being on the podium. Is it going to be a contender for the championship? Maybe early on, but I feel like that breaks. And then for Malcolm Stewart, I think it's going to be much the same. I think that's where Malcolm is, unfortunately.
I don't say unfortunately. I think Malcolm Stewart, with his win in Tampa, he was on the podium in Birmingham. He was on the podium at Salt Lake at the final round of the season as well. I think generally, what was he, fourth in the final championship standings last year? Malcolm Stewart, I think if you were to copy and paste that season in Supercross, even AP as well, if he could sharpen up this start of the series for him, I think for both of them, it was in terms of individual race results, and for Malcolm in the championship, only just missing out on third to Justin Cooper there in the end. I think it was solid on all accounts from those guys. So we'll see what they can carry into this year. On Justin Cooper, an Ironman effort in 2025. We saw him, just third in the championship, but over the course of the year, and especially once you factor in MXON and World Supercross, did a lot of racing. So, I'm interested to see if he can make another step this year coming, Nick, and potentially find that winner's circle on the 450, find more podiums, more consistency. I think he's probably one that I'm looking to make a step.
Yeah, I think so, and it's how he gels with that 26 bike as well. We've seen him on it on the tail end of the 25 season, so he's got to have that in race form. How can he step that up from that? I think one thing we look at Justin Cooper is he's a good starter. He's really got that worked out as well. So sure, why not? I can go with you on that. I can see Justin Cooper making that next step, and being that constant AP Mookie, that battle, that 3 to 5 battle, I want to call it, right? You can see that week in, week out.
Yeah, I think what he ended up, so 3 podiums in a row to finish out last season in Pittsburgh, Denver, Salt Lake. That all helped him go into the top 3 in the points. He had that other second place there in Indy. So when you look back, though, the Anaheims and San Diego weren't so great for him. So yeah, we'll see what Justin Cooper can bring. But I think if he's going to transition and be a real top tier 450 contender in the future, I think 26 is probably one of the more important years. Not the year that he arrives, but one of the more important years for him to set that foundation.
Yeah, and I think to secure those years beyond 26 as well, probably a very important year for Justin Cooper as well.
I know you're a big Roxon guy, big Suzuki guy. Shout out Dustin Pipes.
Yep.
Where do you see Jason Anderson factoring in Monster Energy Supercross? And I want you to be careful here, Nick, because when you think back to last year, you kind of think disaster for Jason Anderson at Monster Energy Kawasaki in his last campaign with them. But when you go back, Nick, to the start of the year, he was on the podium at Anaheim 1. He was on the podium again at Anaheim 2. He was there again in Tampa. So aside from all the dramas that you think of with Jason Anderson 1 year ago, he was still ultra competitive.
Yeah, he was. I think How is the health side of things, his fitness? We got to see him race World Supercross and be a part of that. Where does he line up on board that motorcycle? I'm not exactly sure. Do we have a repeat of this year? Not exactly sure. Don't
hang
think
on.
so.
For those not watching on YouTube,
Yep.
you keep pulling out all these model bikes.
Yep.
But can we update them? Can we? Can you find some sort of backing to getting new bikes?
Sorry, mate. Eli Tomac has been on the KTM a matter of weeks. New Ray Toys hasn't got that on their bucket list of things to do.
Do you have a
Maybe
Yamaha there, sir? You pulled up a Kawasaki, Eli Tomac.
There's also a number 1.
Well, no, number 1 and number 3.
Yeah, he's red plate too, so he's doing well. With Jason Anderson, he's in that top 10. I don't expect him to have that. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
So you were that high on Ken Roxon that you're putting him among the very, very elite, but you're just referencing poor old Jason Anderson, 2018 Supercross champion. You're just putting him, I'll place him in the top 10 somewhere.
Ken's got the runs on the board with the RM Army. Anderson doesn't. Yeah, he won a
World
Supercross Championship, sure. Ken's got the runs with it. I don't know. If it's good, I'm not shocked. If it's not good, I'm not shocked. And yeah, where do you put him?
You know what I want to see from Jason Anderson? Just fireworks. I want to see flashes. I don't care if he finishes 3rd one week and 11th the next. As long as we can maintain just some sort of competitive spirit throughout the whole season, throughout the 17 rounds, I'm sold.
You want El Hombre back? You want El Hombre back?
Yeah. We say I like Ken. I'm not a huge Suzuki guy, but I am.
Didn't see that coming.
I have a lot of respect for Jason Anderson in what he's managed to do over a long period of time. He hasn't always gone great. Hasn't always gone bad. He is another rider, only a little bit younger than Tomac. So he's 32. So he's getting into those twilight years of his career. But yeah, I think this could suit.
Malcolm Stewart, Jason Anderson, Christian Craig, 3 of those guys, wherever the positions are, that's where they'll be. Them 3 will be together. There you go.
Right. We've named this next group, and you mentioned them, the wild cards, not WSX wild cards, but just riders who on any given weekend, we don't know where their ceiling's at. It could be extremely high. It could be less than expected. I don't know, Nick, but there is a group, and we spoke about depth. This is probably what I think showcases that depth more than anything. So we'll do as we did in the group before. RJ Hampshire, Jorge Prado, Garrett Marchbanks, Justin Barsha, Dylan Ferrandis, Colt Nichols, Austin Faulkner, at least at the start of the season, before Jordan Smith returns and makes his debut with Triumph Factory Racing on the 450. There's the Quadlock Honda team that you mentioned, Christian Craig, Joey Savacci, Shane McElrath. It looks like 3 riders there, 426. And then Mitchell Oldenburg and Benny Bloss there at Beta. So that is a lot of riders, not even mentioning the likes of Justin Hill and beyond that. But I want to start this with, I'll say Hampshire. Another one of my guys, Nick.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Shockingly, we're starting with Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yep.
Former 250 SX champion. Great achievement in his career. The 450 seemed to smooth him out outdoors when he stepped up last year. What can that result in Supercross? We know that he had an injury in the preseason, in the off season, a little while back. But yeah, I think for him, it's going to be a matter of putting himself in good positions, get strong track position, and bring consistency to the table. That's what he needs.
That's what he needs. Hold on to your hats, folks. Things are going to get pretty wild.
You sounded like Lee Diffie there.
It kind of did a little.
Was that on purpose?
No, that wasn't, but I'll go with it. Sure, I hope that's the case. I think we're probably going to see a couple of wild rides from RJ, and that's not a shot at him. That's his riding style. That's probably being relatively new on the 450 in Supercross. I hope he falls into the same category and the same trajectory as Justin Cooper, and learns it that way, and that's the result he has. And I think he can. I think he can truly be that guy. But he just can't let those wild moments and get caught up in those scenarios to sort of dictate that, because it can be it's a little bit different when it's on a 450. These things bite quite hard.
He when you think back to obviously he came up short in 250 SX East last year when it went down to the wire.
Wouldn't call it the wire, but anyway.
Yeah, 450 motocross, as I mentioned, 5th in the championship, featured on the podium in that. So 7th in 450 SMX, he ended up climbing to. Yeah, I'm really kind of fascinated to see what RJ can do. And when you talk about the 450 seemingly smoothing him out, to an extent it did, but that all went out the window when you factor in the nations last year. So
I think his 450 outdoors campaign was good. He had glimpses where it went right. So if he can capture that and bring it indoors, I think there's no reason why it can't go right.
He and even in the playoffs, he 5.66, so not terrible.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Prado,
the scapula. Quickly on Hampshire, the scapular injury. When was that? We reported on that mid-December after media days. I'm looking back. Got on the 450 end of October, tested for a full week, then went back to Florida, rode a couple of days, and then he had a big one, which he said was very humbling. So we'll see.
Maybe those humbling crashes, as he speak, maybe that helps. Maybe that, I don't know, maybe that brings it back down to reality. I'm not sure. You happy to move on to Prado?
Yeah. This is one of those ones we spoke about. Chase Sexton and Eli Tomac, being one of those storylines of the upcoming season that are just so interesting. Prado is coming off of that disastrous 2025 season. We saw him crash out of Supercross pretty early on there at A2. Despite his status as a 4-time world champion, outdoors did not go well whatsoever, and then he didn't show for SMX. But this opportunity to return to the Austrian brands, to the group. Not only that, at Red Bull KTM on what is effectively a third factory bike. It's the type of opportunity that doesn't come around too often, but for Jorge Prado, this year is probably the most important of his career. And when I bring up Sexton, what I was kind of getting at there is maybe it just fits better for Chase at Kawasaki, and maybe Jorge fits better at KTM. But if one of them, just say, goes drastically better and the other one, say worse, then I think there's that added pressure on the manufacturers as well to say, okay, it was the bike, okay, it wasn't the rider, or vice versa. So that will difficult to compare because Chase Sexton's year last year was so good, regardless of him not necessarily being happy. But for Prado, he needs to make this one count.
Yeah, I'd probably, and what you said there is another case of I can point back at the team and say, ha, on you. Or I think we have that with both those riders. I'm probably going to call this a last-ditch effort for Prado and his American campaign. Sure, he can go back to Europe and MXGP and do what he did there for sure. But for Jorge Prado to make it in America and make it in racing in America, this is probably it. This is a last-ditch effort. What do the results need to be, Alex, for this to be a success for Jorge? That's the question I have.
I don't put a number on it in Supercross. I think for him, it's a matter of, as we say with so many of these guys, is going the distance. That's critical. But then for Prado outdoors, I think with KTM, and we'll obviously have that preview later on in the year, I think he's going to want to contend. So whatever it's going to take to lift his confidence, to maintain his belief, to build or rebuild a synergy with Red Bull KTM, especially the team in North America, that's going to be important for him during Supercross, I think, to put him on the front foot once we get to the outdoors. So that's kind of where I stand with Prado. When we look back, Anaheim won last year 14th, San Diego 12th, and that was before the injury and then obviously the ongoing disaster beyond that. But then when you look back to back to his short cameo type appearance in 24, he was 13th at A1 on debut, no expectations, 7th in the mud in San Fran. I think that's where he won the heat race.
Sure did.
Yep. And then just outside the top 10 in San Diego. So not necessarily better or worse than last year to start the year with Kawasaki. But for Jorge Prado, this is what you would effectively say is his rookie 450 SX campaign. A number on it, I don't have one.
Yeah, I'll go with you with that. For Supercross, like you said, just going the distance, making it through the rounds, having those heat race successes, I think is important. And then battling for wins in pro motocross is the expectation, I think. It's weird. I wonder with that team at Red Bull KTM if there's, a rivalry between the three of those to be the best. I can't see that being with Prado and Supercross, but when we get to motocross, it could be pretty interesting, I think, between those three riders. But another question for Prado, how does it go? I'm not sure. I don't. Yeah, not really.
I think importantly, when you think there was the big three, you would add Roczen into that, but Roczen, Lawrence, AP, Stewart, Anderson, Cooper, that's 9 riders just in those opening 2 groups. AP add in the riders in this group, you're talking guys, what it's going to take to even get into the top 10, top 15 beyond that. Garrett Marchbanks, he was probably the big beneficiary of Prado departing Kawasaki early. He was signed on a 3-year contract, which Chase Sexton is as well, by the way, Nick, a 3-year commitment. But once Prado and Kawasaki agreed for his departure for 26, Marchbanks got the call to come in. That's huge for his career. Again, difficult to put a number on it, but I think I would almost he would want to be trailing Hampshire there or thereabouts, I think, in terms of the result.
Yeah, I think so for him. I think that's, major for his career. I feel like there probably will be a pressure scenario on him to go out there and perform, for the simple fact it's only a matter of time till one of the Monster Energy Pro Circuit 250 riders gets this thing done and gets himself a ride in that team as well. So I feel like for Marchbanks, there is probably going to be a pressure environment for him. But I think it's just important he goes out there, gets a laps, basically finishes, does the exact same as what we need Hampshire to do, is just go be there, get the races, get the results. And I think it'll come to him. A pretty good starter on that bike as well. So maybe we see glimpses early and it shuffles him back. But I think that's a good fit for him, and I think he can really build from it. But yeah, you get those flashbacks of Joey Savacci in that team, and you're there for a year, then you're gone.
He said that he has, I guess, options in his contract that if he meets a certain criteria or a certain standard, he does get renewed, he does get extended. I think it depends a lot on does anybody within the 250 team really, stamp their authority at Pro Circuit to earn that opportunity for next year. Either way, for Garrett Marchbanks, I think year on year, the pressure has been there and would have been there regardless. So, yeah, we'll see what he can do.
I'd love to know what that is, what the clause is there in performance, but I'm sure we'll get a telltale as the season gets underway. That's for sure. But yeah, for Marchbanks, good on him. What about the Ducati squad?
Troy Lee Designs, Red Bull, Ducati Factory Racing, new to the series, new to the championship. Very interesting. Just fascinated with this. We know that Justin Barsha missed much of the off season, the preseason with a broken collarbone. He's only barely just going to be back on the bike in time for Anaheim 1. That means Dylan Ferrandis has been doing much of the 450 SX preparation and early development. There's been mixed reports. So Ferrandis speaking very, very highly of the chassis of the Desmo 450 MX, Nick, leading into Supercross. But then the engine, we know, is probably been more developed for motocross. They've already been in MXGP. So a lot to learn about the general character of the bike for both of these guys. And a lot of it, when what is evident, it's almost that old factory connection Geico Honda team from all those years ago that are making up a lot of what this TLD program is. So I don't really know what to expect. I expect more from Barsha as the season goes on. I think both riders will have to be patient. I think they have to be measured in their expectations. I don't know if there was almost a miscommunication from Dylan's side of just how ecstatic he is with this bike already. Whether I wasn't sure whether he meant Ducati is known for making such good bikes, or if he was literally saying that is the best frame in the sport. I'm not certain either way, but what is clear is he was super happy with the handling of the bike in Supercross already. So again, tough to say just how deep into the top 10 they can go, but I think the big winner here is the sport.
Bingo. I think you hit the nail on the head there, that the winner is the sport. It's the fans. We're having another manufacturer enter the professional racing. And I think, to have a brand as prestige as Ducati being a part of that, it's amazing. Expectation-wise, I don't have any. We haven't got to see this bike perform inside a stadium yet. So I think all eyes will be on that throughout the day to see how that goes. And where that is, Alex, is where it is. And I think it moves forward. The trajectory just gets better and better. Like you said, we expect Barsha to improve as the season goes on. Like you said, did have that injury. How is he now? How much time has he had on the bike? But yeah, it's the unknown, and I think it's okay for it to be unknown. And we see where it ends up. But just having another truck back in the pits, including the whole Troy Lee branding, I think is important as well.
It was it last year when Ferrandis didn't make the main event at Anaheim 1?
I cannot recall.
He I think
Phoenix
it was.
Honda?
Yeah,
Phoenix
with
Honda?
Phoenix. Yep. But beyond that, consistently, as you looked over the course of the year, consistent top 10s. He had the top 5 in Seattle, again in East Rutherford, and then basically finished out strong from there in Supercross. 7th in the final standings was Dylan Ferrandis last year. So in terms of 450 foundations to build upon and data to work from and working with Factory Connection then as well, I think he's in a good position to we'll get a pretty good gauge of where this Ducati is at. Justin Barsha obviously coming off of, he was a long-time rider with TLD at Gas. Last year, he was with the Rockstar Energy Gas team, which is no longer Nick. That has reformed back into, merged in with the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna team. So, yeah, only 2 brands from the Austrian group there. But, I think they're going to want to see some promise and some top 10s, and probably preferably closer to the top 5, depending on how many riders do or don't go out from injury over the course of this season. So, big one for Ducati coming up. Super exciting. Triumph as well. We mentioned that already. They're stepping up to the Premier class. We're seeing Austin Faulkner start the season, a late inclusion in 450 SX. Jordan Smith, he's probably expecting to be back by the time the series goes east. And then I think at that point, the expectation is that Faulkner will also transition back to 250 SX East. I guess unless he's performing extra strong in the Premier class. So just another minor storyline to keep track of. Triumph is more familiar than Ducati within the sport, but I think it's still important not to overlook the fact that they've arrived in the Premier class of Monster Energy Supercross.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great opportunity for Faulkner. I hope it's just a case of just finish, just get through it, do what you're doing to have that bike out there on the track for the brand, and then get that pace back, more time on the bike for when he heads east for Jordan Smith to jump back on. Zero expectation for me is just complete the laps, finish the races, and don't fall under that injury banner once again. That's the only thing I can see with Austin Faulkner.
It doesn't look like we'll have maybe Dano in 250SX West. We'll get to that, but it seems like Faulkner and Angelique Swall are both positioning for a run at the Eastern Division title in 250SX. So, yeah, following the success of Smith last year on the Western Division, that will kind of be interesting, or a bit of a lack of the triumph there on come Anaheim 1 in the 250 class, but we'll see about that. Colt Nichols, he is the other Twisted Tea Suzuki rider there alongside Anderson, obviously in that sub-type team there at HEP. So Nichols, not a lot to say about him other than we want to see him continue to progress to as a former 250 champion. I think this is probably where I tie this together. Nichols and the quad lock Honda trio of Craig, Savachi, McElrath. I think that's almost a race within a race of, for Nichols, it would be massive to be ahead of those guys. But at the same time, there's almost that inner team rivalry within quad lock where the ceiling of especially Craig, especially Savachi, is particularly high on any given night. So that's almost kind of fascinating in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. That rivalry between both teams is probably something we're going to see those guys on track quite a lot. You never know. It could be like a World Supercross replay with Savachi, Anderson, throwing Craig, Nichols there as well. So, but the one thing we've just really got to look at is we can name 10 to 15 riders straight off the bat here who we expect to be top 10. It's not going to go well for a certain amount of these riders. And it really stands that point of deepest field ever. I'll say it again. Like, wow, we have one hell of a season coming up in front of us right now, and there are so many names, and there's only a certain amount of places these names can go in. So there's going to be disappointment for some riders in the coming week. Just how does it play out?
Yeah, and it's almost that. I think it was interesting at media days when you think of the beta riders, Mitchell Oldenburg for one, for example, they almost count on attrition as the season goes on of, okay, this is the goal at Anaheim 1, but where do we reset? How do we evaluate as the season goes on? And then how do I make sure I'm there once we get beyond round 10 into that, kind of closing portion of the year? So yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to as we say. 250 SX West, Nick, you happy to move on?
Yeah, I think we've any more in 450, we're just going to be telling people who's going to be in the LCQ. So yeah, what a class! Wow.
Yeah, we've done similar with this. So we're going to start it out with, and again, not all of these riders are a lock. We know, I think in recent years, teams have been more open to sharing information than in previous years. But at the same time, you never truly do know who will be where. One thing we do know is Hayden Deegan is intending to defend his Western Division Championship there with Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing. Alongside him, I'm going to say the other title challengers from what we are aware of would have to be Levi Kitchen, and then I think Max Anstey is bringing the type of form into 2026 that you can't count him out either. They seem to be at least on form, the riders to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Deegan, there's not much more to say about Hayden Deegan than, how impressive he is and how it has been for him in the 250 class. We expected to see that 450 move up potentially. Some of us did, some didn't. Looks like that's not going to be the case. But for Deegan, is it going to be a repeat of years past? It didn't start real well for Deegan last year. And then obviously throughout the season, it just got better and better. It's how it starts off for him. And then you throw in his teammate there, Max Anstey, who potentially could be in the best version of himself he's been in for quite some time. Usually we see him go east. I like the idea of him going west. He's raced World Supercross, had a lot of success. He's looked fantastic there. Keep it going. Keep this thing rolling for him. And then Levi Kitchen as well. He's had the glimpses of success. He's had the wins. He's had the run-ins. He's also had the low points there as well. I'm ready for the Kitchen Deegan rivalry to continue. And at one point, this has to go right for Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. It just has to. So why not? Yeah, that's the battle I'm really looking forward to is the Levi Kitchen, Hayden Deegan rivalry, and then who knows, Max Anstey can capitalize on that. He gets great starts on that bike. He can get there in front. If Deegan and Kitchen are playing cat and mouse, Max Anstey could run away.
Yeah, and I think history tells last year Levi, he ended up doing East. He won at Detroit, and then we all remember what happened there at Daytona with that major incident. Before then, he was the one to challenge Hampshire for the championship the year prior. So he's got the runs on the board. He's got the potential, and you mentioned it earlier, he's one of the ones that are eyeing that seat of Marchbanks. Right or wrong, that's what he has come out and said. That's the position he wants. I think on Deegan, what did he win last year? 4 main events on his way to the title. We saw him, his hands were full with Julian Beaumer, who won't be in Supercross this year while he continues his recovery. Cole Davies, who won't be back until the East this season coming, sorry. So be a different group of competitors for Hayden Deegan. But I think what Deegs is going to want to do is defend and do it with authority. So not that many will remember once he steps up to the 450 full time, or not that it will count for a lot, but at the same time, for I think the progression of his career to kind of firm that he is just as good at Supercross as he is outdoors. I think that's important as well, that Deegan really puts in more of a dominant performance this time around. So that's what we'll be looking for from Hayden.
I didn't really think about that until you said it, and it's so true.
Yeah.
This will be the last time we see him on the 250 in Supercross to really make it count. That might even be a pressure scenario for him, maybe. I'm not sure. That's very interesting.
And you think Anstey is almost similar in some ways, except we have recency bias from World Supercross. Anstey's similar to Kitchen in certain ways. Is he did win a main event on the East last year when he opened the season in Tampa. Detroit didn't. That was the one where he had the dramas, although I think he was the strongest there. He didn't get the win. Daytona wasn't great. Indy wasn't, really great for Max. And then he was out from that point. But, I think as a multi-time main event winner, Max Anstey kind of has experience on his side. He has everything going his way to potentially be one of the main threats to Hayden. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because and we'll go through these riders pretty quickly as well, Nick, because they're not the only riders realistically who can make an impact in this thing. Some of the riders we're expecting to be next in line. Rider Di Francesco, he switched from red to white at Husqvarna. We're expecting to see Cameron McAdoo out west.
Yep.
I think it was Drew Adams initially we were kind of expecting, but now, despite limited prep on Supercross, even if he's been riding for some time, it looks like McAdoo will be at Anaheim 1 and in the Western Division. Go beyond that, Chance Hymas, he'll be back from injury. They're bringing him back sooner. He's also based on the West Coast now, Nick. So a bit of a change for him in his program. Hymas, I think he will build into it as time goes on. Michael Moserman, I think he wanted to be East just due to the travel, but I think the team believes he's ready to go West. So, there's a group of riders there that I think have the capabilities, have the potential to at least challenge those top 3 guys for the podium, if not main event wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And you throw in the Triple Crown scenario where the craziness happens, and I think that's where these guys benefit so much. You got to expect you're going to see McAdoo, you're going to see Di Francesco, you're going to see, Mosman, Hymas, Volan. You're going to see these guys on the podium. And how does that affect it? It's expect the unexpected. Once again, I feel like I'm repeating myself with that, but usually every year as well, there's a new rider that really catches fire, that really has a standout performance. Years past, like Cody Schock, those type of riders. I really question who it's going to be this year, and why can't it be a Volan? Why can't it be a Yoda? Why can't it be one of these riders that really, puts their foot forward and says, I'm going to be on the podium each week? Yeah, it's the craziness of it, and I can't wait. I'm just getting more keener by the second now when you read through the names.
It's interesting as well when, McAdoo and all of the injuries that he has had, getting back to form, you think back to last year on the box in Tampa, getting straight back to speed isn't his issue, but it's more of a case of making sure he can ride that edge that enables him to, deliver on the results that he expects, but to make sure he doesn't go over the line. Easier said than done.
Yeah, easier said than done with him, and unfortunately, as we've seen in the past, it's been a case for that as well, where we've seen that go down. But for those two teams, for McAdoo, for Kitchen, and then Anstey and Deegan, that's stacked from both their 250 squads out there together. That's there is going to be fireworks to watch when it comes down to those 4 riders, I think. And then you throw in those other riders that we've mentioned there as well. There is so much to be seen.
Rider D is probably one of the more interesting ones because you take this back to 1 year ago. Anaheim 1, he was 4th.
Yep.
San Diego, he was 5th. The starts are usually good. Track position is rarely an issue for him. But again, the mistakes do tend to catch him out here or thereabouts. So we didn't see a lot of him in Supercross last year. But what we did see, he'll remember. And I think it will help him find that form early. And I think that's the thing with these riders. If they do happen to get a result early on, it's going to count a lot. And likewise, if A1 doesn't go to plan for Levi or Max or even Hayden, that too, will be a bit of a difficult one to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important in this class, this track position as well. And it's getting those starts, it's getting out front and going with that pack, and staying out of the absolute carnage that we usually see in 250. He can be that guy. He can follow in what Julian Boumer did last year. I think that's probably the best way to put that.
It's that's the thing. Is he ready for the breakout? Tough to say. Would we be surprised? No, we wouldn't. Outside of that, Nick, Moserman, we've seen just how good he's been out west in the past. What was it? Around 22? He was, right there in contention. 7th in the standings last year, a rebuilding year for him and his career. He was able to maintain his seat there at Star. So probably a bit of a low pressure situation for him, considering the teammates that he has. But again, there's every chance. We saw him on the podium last year in Arlington. We saw what he could do outdoors. He was on the podium at Redbud. The signs are still there for Moserman.
Yeah, it is. And the glimpses are still there from what we've seen in years past. Even when we look back to last year, he had those glimpses on that Star bike as well of being with being with Davies and then being with Deegan as well. So things are okay for Michael Moserman, and you just one of those dudes you just don't want to see get hurt again.
It is very when you think of McAdoo, when you think of Hymas, when you think of Moserman, in certain stages of his career, that same type of story. So, you mentioned these riders. So, Club MX did confirm very early in the piece that Max Voland and Hunter Yoda will be on the Western region in that division. Lux Turner, we don't know if he'll be fit for Anaheim 1, but that was the goal. Maybe Anaheim 2 instead. But yeah, between Lux, Parker Ross, Dylan Swartz there at Bar X on the Yamaha equipment. Over at AEO, Carson Mumford will be probably the headline rider there, wanting to get his career back on track. But again, Nick, when you look at each of these riders, from Deegan, Kitchen, Anstey, that's the 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You feel the top 10 pretty quick is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean. You get to these, you get to these other riders that can really, someone can, catch fire, so to speak, and get into that top 10 and keep working their way forward. It could be any one of those riders, right?
It definitely can be. So Deegan, though, the favorite, I think this time on the 450, the relief of this Supercross Championship pressure from last year to finally get that done by his standards. I think Hayden Deegan has to be the favorite going in, but the talent pool is high. Let's just say that.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to give Deegan the nod with this. And like you said, the importance of doing it dominantly, and really stamping his authority on the 250 class before we see him make that move. That's what we'll be looking for as well. But there's a list of those riders that would be very happy to rain on Mr. Deegan's parade.
All right. Well, thank you as always, sir. Anything else? Anything else?
It's race week. Anaheim 1. Let's go. Let's drop the gates for the 2026 season. Let's see how Ken goes. Let's see how Ken goes. RM Army.
And this is the first stage, obviously, of SMX and the wider World Championship. We're going to go 17 rounds indoors, Nick. Then we're going to 11 rounds outdoors, plus the postseason of 3 events. And that will be the 31 race schedule for this championship. We'll preview the Eastern 250SX East next month as we get closer to that, because a lot to look forward to as well. But thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Lots of fun, Alex. Can't wait to get this thing underway.
Yeah, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you stay tuned to MotoOnline.com for the latest on all things Monster Energy Supercross 2026, plus our social accounts at MotoOnline. We'll see you at Angel Stadium.